Good morning again. Welcome to IPMEN Chile 2012. Mr. Ambassador Gabriel Rodríguez, Dr. Juan Carlos Castilla, and the IPMEN delegates. La Red Internacional de Educadores Marinos del Pacífico celebra su cuarto congreso bienal, el primero en Latinoamérica a partir del lunes 26 de noviembre hasta el 3 de diciembre de 2012. Educadores marinos se reúnen para compartir recursos y avanzar en una red destinada a garantizar la sustentabilidad del Pacífico y de las comunidades que dependen de ella. The International Pacific Marine Educators Network holds its fourth biennial conference during November of 2012 in Chile. Marine educators are gathering to share resources and to advance a network aimed at ensuring the sustainability of the Pacific and the communities who depend upon it. And now I invite, please, Dr. Luis Pinto, the coordinator of IPMEN 2012, please, to come.
Mr. Ambassador Gabriel Rodríguez, director de Energía, Ciencia y Tecnología e Innovación del Ministerio de Relaciones Exteriores, Dr. Juan Carlos Castilla, estimados delegados IPMEN Internacional, with great pleasure and pride, I welcome you to my home country, Chile. It is really exciting and wonderful to have you here. It's been a little bit more than 4 years of dreaming about this time. And I remember, I guess it was in Hawaii, in our first conference, when there was the idea of what comes after Australia. At that time, Fiji was also part of the places where we were going to hold our meetings. So finally, 1.5 years of a lot of hard work, and as you know, especially IPMEN volunteers IPMEN delegates of volunteer job work here in Chile and also by the International Organizing Committee, we're here. All I have to do, or I have to say right now is thank you. I want to thank some people and institutions that have been instrumental for this meeting, the first one in South America or Latin America to happen. I want to thank our host, the Ambassador Gabriel Rodríguez, and I want to thank also our keynote speaker. I'm very excited and looking forward to hear what he is going to tell us about all his experience in marine education and marine science in Chile. I want to thank my partners, Manuela and Carla, who has given a lot of time to also for to get everything in place. And the institutions, Universidad de Concepción with the program COPAS Sur Austral. It's been 3 years that we've been working under the auspices of the University of Concepción to start this organization. Very important international sponsorship comes from the David and Lucille Packard Foundation. You probably will know a little bit more about them when Harry comes in and he will give a historic perspective of the NMEA meetings, the IPMEN meetings. The next institution is the National Marine Educators Association from the United States, and also the Western Pacific Fisheries Research Council. Our national sponsors, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and the program Chile, California, the CIEP, which is a Center for Research of Ecosystems in Patagonia, the Pontifical Catholic University of Chile, and the Marine Conservation Center, the municipality or county from Tortel, University of Chile and Explora, And also very important in-kind support from Cien Austral, from the College of Exploration, Aquasendas, and Nautilus Education. Thank you all, because it's a collaborative effort, and let's start the conference. Thank you.
Now I would like to invite Mr. Harry Bridal from Victoria, Australia. He's part of Marine Education Society of Australia and Nautilus Educational. Harry has worked in Australia for over 40 years in environmental education as a secondary school teacher and university lecturer, author, and researcher. His name is now synonymous with environmental education in Australia. Please, Harry.
Thank you, and for one of the few times I'm very nervous. I'm a teacher, but my lovely young friend Aurora Davey told me just to imagine that all of the men in the audience are wearing dresses and everything will be okay. Ambassador, thank you very much for your hospitality. It is greatly appreciated. I'm reading, which is rare for me, but I'll sort of half read and half harry. So here we are in Chile. And I'll give you a bit of a history in a minute, but I want to start with a story, and the story involves a hero of mine and a hero of Jane's, a fabulous woman called Sylvia Earle. And Sylvia wrote a book about 10 years ago called Sea Change, and it's about what humans are doing to the ocean and the terrible effect that we are having on the ocean. And when she was doing a book tour, she was in Australia and was interviewed by a young journalist on one of our famous beaches in Sydney, Bondi Beach. And this young journalist came up to Sylvia, microphone in hand, and the first question she asked was, "Why should I care about the ocean? After all, I hate the beach and I don't eat fish." Now, for Sylvia, and I think for most of us here, that question was a very strange question. Most of us, I think, have spent half our lives in the ocean and dealing with the ocean, and it's not a question that we automatically think of. And yet, most of the people on the planet would probably have that same feeling. Why should I care about the ocean? And that's partly why we formed IPMEN. The history of IPMEN is interesting. It started, as most good things do, around a meal table. I was at a conference in Long Beach, California in 2000, July 2000, an NMEA conference, and a group of us were sitting around a table talking. And my American colleagues said, "Well, you live in Australia, Harry, and we live in the USA, and we're all doing the similar things. We're going to have a meeting in Hawaii in 5 years' time, in the year 2005. Why don't we all get together in Hawaii and have a Pacific-wide meeting?" And so we did. We all got together and had a Pacific-wide meeting on the beautiful island of Maui. And that's where I first met Sylvia. And we had a 2-day meeting of planning how we would coordinate. And at that stage, we were thinking of taking on the world and having a world ocean education organisation. But we decided, okay, let's just focus on the Pacific. And following that meeting, I think one of the keys to success of IPMEN was that Sylvia's boss, Kitty Simmons, and Sylvia sat down and said, well, one of the things we need to do is keep this momentum going. So they funded the next stages, and the Western Pacific Regional Fisheries Management Council has been one of our main supporters for a long time. So the 2 keys to success have been generous support from organisations like David and Lucille Packard Foundation, Western Pacific Regional Fisheries Management Council, and looking around the room, a group of really dedicated people like Peter and Sylvia and Lewis, who give tremendous amount of time and energy to keep this process going. And basically what we're all here to do in the setting of Chile and Latin America and the Spanish language is answer or help to answer that question that Sylvia was asked all those years ago, that many, many people don't even think to ask the question. But if they were proposed with things about the ocean, their first response would be, why should I care about the ocean? That's what we're here to address. And we have a fabulous tool now. Again, it comes from the United States of America, and it's a process that another dedicated group of people have put a lot of work into, and it's a concept called ocean literacy. And ocean literacy basically is what I should know about my impact on the ocean and what I should know about the ocean's impact on my life. And the fact that every person on this planet, whether they live by the sea or in the mountains or in the desert, we all should know how our lives are affected by the ocean and how our lives affect the ocean. So we're here basically to address that question. We have energetic people, we have supportive sponsors, and we now have a framework which is ocean literacy. So that's hopefully what the next 2 days and then the following days down in northern Patagonia are going to be all about. So welcome everyone. I'm looking forward to this greatly. Thank you, by the way, to Lewis, who's been the driving force behind all of this. And Tsuyoshi from Japan, we hope to be in Japan doing this in 2014, in 2 years' time. Thank you.
Now I would like to invite Mr. Ambassador Gabriel Rodriguez. Mr. Gabriel Rodriguez has been in charge of the international negotiations for energy, science and technology, and human capital development, giving support to the development of national programs in the areas of strategic innovation, research and development. Starting in June of 2008, Mr. Rodriguez is the Executive Secretary of the Chile-California Plan. Since 2009, he manages the relationship with the International Astronomy Consortia based in Chile and is responsible for the negotiations of new observatories coming to Chile. Please, Mr. Rodriguez, and together I would like to invite Sylvia to come.
Thank you very much. Good morning to everyone. Probably some of you are quite tired, but at the same time, I'm sure you are quite passionate about what can happen these days here. Let me start talking about, you know that this country, Chile, perhaps some of you have been here only for the first time. Here in Chile, we have today between 60 to 70% of the biggest telescope of the world. And I'm talking not only about optical observation, but also radio astronomy. You know the reason why? It's because Chile has the cleanest sky. Dark skies, which is something important to keep. You need to keep cities with lights lighting down, not up. At the same time, you need to take care about industries not to interfere, in this case with scientific observations. So in that sense, astronomy is quite a central part for the future in terms of how Chile is going to be connected with international networks of scientific development. I'm sure you are now wondering if I am in the mistaken conference because I'm talking about astronomy and you are talking about the ocean. That is an important relationship. Chile is a country where we have defined that nature is a lab, is a laboratory. It's a laboratory that we need to take care of. But at the same time, it's a laboratory, it's a natural lab that can help us develop our future. If you look, as I said, astronomy is a natural lab, but also volcanology, seismology, arid zones, subantarctic areas, the Antarctica, the polar signs, the ocean. So we have been discovering in this country that taking care of our land, of our sea, of our skies, is not only something that has to do with an ethic of being a human being, but also has to do with the possible future. 3 or 4 months ago came here the president of the National Science Foundation. He came to Latin America, only to Brazil and Chile. Brazil is very understandable. And I asked him, why are you coming to Chile? You have a natural lab? He told me. Antarctica, astronomy, ocean, etc. He repeated these words. So this is what we are discovering. And that's the reason why we are very happy and honored that this conference, Pacific, International Pacific Marine Education Network, has this session in Chile. And the other thing I'm happy is that you are staying in Santiago only for 1.5 days, and then you're going to the south, because this is the only way you can understand also how this natural lab exists. So, as I said, welcome. And I love this word that you were using about ocean literacy, because sometimes you put this in a very complicated ways. It's ocean literacy, like alphabetization. You need to connect people with concrete reality about what it means living in a country that we have such a long coast, that at the same time can be a place for entertainment, but a place for production, a place for being there, like a human being. So this connected with the idea of a sustainable development, science-based. This is what I think it's important also. We need to develop a way of understanding what's happening around us with a science point of view, scientific point of view. And this is what you're already doing also in this conference. I've been working we have been working as a country in a strong relations with California. California is part of your network. California, because they have such more or less the same kind of challenges in natural resources that we have. They are much more developed, obviously. That's the reason why that since the 60s, we have been working very closely with California. Now in the last year, in the second phase of a Chile-California plan, one of the areas we are working is marine education. Juan Carlos Castilla is the chief scientist of a project that we are starting about how we can make the population develop an awareness about the ocean and about what it means to protect it and what it means to take advantage of it in a serious way. So this project, which started initially with a first, let's say, research on what's already here in the country, will have a conference in the mid-year, probably next year, in order to identify more precisely what can be done here in Chile in this area. And I would like to be very happy if the countries being part of this network also could be connected with this project. We are really committed to this. In a certain way, Chile, in spite of the long coast, we are in a certain way looking inside ourselves. We are much more oriented to the farm exploitation of salmon, for example. and we are not looking at the ocean as itself. So that's the reason why projects like this can develop this awareness. It's the same as in astronomy. You have been working on the science area of astronomy, but we are now developing a project of a network of telescopes all around the country that in such a way that population can get connected with this reality of astronomy in Chile. Something similar needs to be done in the area of the ocean. And who has inspired this in Chile is Juan Carlos. Juan Carlos has been working, starting from science, but from science, moving to develop public policies, from public policies to laws, and from laws to procedures. Then the good thing is that these discussions doesn't remain only in a PowerPoint. It goes to reality. And this is the challenge I think you have here. When I read, I'm not saying that Science or Nature are not so serious magazines, but when I read a record or a description of what's being done on these programs in The Economist, I think it's good, because you are reaching a bigger a number of people. This was published in February this year, an article which doesn't mention the work that has been done by Juan Carlos, but is the core of what's being said there had to do with how we can work with our marine resources in a responsible way, and how we can educate people. So I understand that the motto of this conference is big oceans, many dreams. Fantastic. I hope that at the end we are going to have a bigger ocean and many projects. Thank you very much.